So this game is used for change management. And basically, it's the human side of change management. So there's also the side that where you do project plans, like I also explained yesterday. And this game is not about that. We also have other games, for instance, for strategy implementation, project management, project leadership. We have for, in my old job, for instance, I was located in Denmark, but basically all my employees was located all over the world. So how do you lead in a global organization with people from different cultures? In my team, I had people from Estonia, India, United States, Spain. So of course, you have an idea that, hey, I can just send out this message and they will all understand it in exactly the same way. Unfortunately, that's not the case. People understand it differently, and you also have to work with people differently depending on where they come from. So we have a game that trains cultural differences and leadership on a distance, which is basically completely the same as leadership, it's just more difficult, not average difficulty. This game is the change management game, and it's the best seller we got. And it's used by huge companies, like Spotify is using it for all their teams. Johnson & Johnson, a big American company, is using it for leadership training. Volvo is using it for leadership training. PwC, loads of other of these companies. And then a lot of consultancies are using it as well. And as you will see today, what the game does, it is creating discussions around a specific topic. So it works like an engine for discussion. That means that the game is very flexible. The game is about a fictitious case. Is this working now? Oh yeah, let me start when using the presentation then. We use it for 3 different settings. The first one is leadership training. Now that is when you got a leadership team that you're saying, okay, change management is a competence that we need all our managers to have. It's like a basic foundation for everything we do. And then you set up a training for that. That would mean that it's a very personal training. So what is my strengths, what is my weaknesses, how could I develop further on this, and so on. The second use situation is for a specific project, like a specific change project. In that sense, you would go in and you will use the board. I will show you how that works, and use the metaphors from the game to talk about how are we actually going about our change and how can we create an action plan to take the next step. My idea is that if we took leadership just as serious as we took like project planning, what would happen then? Imagine if leaders actually made a plan for their leadership actions before they went out and did stuff. In my world, they don't do that. They just barge into something and just think, I'm the best manager in the world. And then things go wrong. So what if we took it seriously? What if we actually believed that what drives change and what drives organizations is not the IT system or the products. It's not even the clients that drives it. It's the people who are in it. So let's lead them the best possible way. You will also hear people saying, well, in a change process, we also heard it yesterday, in a change process, some people, they're just not on the bus. They will have to leave the company. And of course, that's true. Sometimes you end up in that situation. I remember last summer, I did this training for an investment bank in London. And they said, why the hell should we spend 2 days in change management? We got one action for that. You can be on the bus or you can piss off. And of course, that's a solution for some, if you have loads of money, because what will happen is that you will need to rehire people instead of actually using leadership actions to get them back on the bus, to ensure that they understand the change and they are proactive and working for the change. That is what we will train today. We'll only do a demonstration. The game in itself takes like 3.5 hours to play. And then we do reflections where we talk about the client's own organization, which is normally also 3.5 hours on top of that. So it takes a long time, this game. But today you will test the game and hopefully you will also have some takeaways from that. The last thing we use is for the whole organization. That could be that you're saying we need a language for change. Because change is also about emotions. It's about me feeling that everybody else understands the change and is just running ahead, but I don't get it. So I'm just sitting back and I don't like that. I feel lonely. It could be I'm the king of the old IT system. So if you implement a new IT system, I'm afraid that I'll get fired because then you don't need me anymore. So hence, I don't like the new IT system. So it's about feelings. And in many organizations, we don't talk about that. There's no room to say, actually, I'm a bit scared at the moment. We just say, hey, are you on? It's going to be great. And yes, yes, yes. So this creates a room where managers can say, hey, I'm actually not completely on board. I need to work with this. And like I said yesterday, change management is about changing the management. So this game is about leadership and management and how we can change the leaders that will impact the employees and make the change become successful. So it focuses on the human aspect. And the game is based on like standard theory within change management. So it's John Cutter, it's Rick Mauer. John Cutter is the guy that's saying, okay, we got 8 different steps that you need to go through in a change. He also got a circle of change. We got Rick Mauer, he's talking about resistance or reactions towards change, which is also part of the game. Then we have Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman is actually mainly known for emotional leadership, or emotional intelligence. But what we use is his situational leaderships. He got 6 different situational leaderships that is also incorporated in the game, which is, for instance, I can be a democratic leader, or I can be like authoritative, or I can be like Barack Obama, come with me, visionary kind of leader. And then it's based on MBTI. You could also use DISC insights. It's based on Jung, the psychology basically. So all the personality tests that we have could actually be applied to the game if you want to. Now this is important. The game is not, as you will see shortly, it's not a theoretical game. This is not about training people in theory. This is about making people take actions. We believe that people actually want to be part of a change. People are not angry, idiot, grumpy old men. They want to do something. But sometimes it can be difficult to understand what is it that you want me to do. This game will inspire people to take actions that they normally wouldn't do. I don't know. In my old job, I was at this strategy meeting with the CEO, and he came out and he said, I got a new strategy. It's going to be great. We're going to earn so many euros. It's going to be falling down from the sky. And I was like, that sounds great. I want to be rich too. Let's do that. But I said, you can do that because I'm really busy with my own job. I didn't really understand that I had to do something. I thought that this was just his strategy. So this game is trying to create a bridge between like the strategic intent that I talked about yesterday and what am I supposed to do, like this operational level, this tactical level. Good. So we made it simple. Remember the differences between something that is complex and something that is complicated? So working with humans is of course complex. We do all kinds of things. And it's difficult to interpret and even plan after. That's why we make games, because game is a simplification of the world. That makes it possible for us to talk about difficult stuff in an easy way. It makes it possible for us to create a language where we can talk about difficult stuff in an easy way. Let me give you an example. For instance, a change process. A change process is basically just like you go through stuff. It can be like a month, it can be 3 years, it can be all kinds of different change processes. What we have done is that we have created 3 different phases that you will go through in a change process, and they go for all change process. There's a startup phase. That's the beginning. That's where you get all the ideas. That's the inspiration. You start talking about the change. Then we have the implementation. The implementation is the fun part. That's where we do stuff. Like we build the IT system or we implement the new values in the organization. That's where the action happens. And then there's an additional phase that many companies forget. It's called anchoring. And that's actually why we started the project in the first place. That's where we anchor the IT system into the organization. So we no longer talk about the new IT system, it's just the system that we use. Like many organizations find that phase boring. There's no money for that. So they like the startup phase, the ideas, they like the implementation, the action, and then they skip the anchoring and start up something new. Now that is a shame. That is a shame. Because then they don't get the benefit from why they initiated the project in the first place. So this game has 3 different phases: startup, implementation, and anchoring. And I would say all change processes go through that. So in that sense, it's simple. Today, we will only play one phase. We will play the startup phase. So the first phase of a change process. What we will talk about is the understanding of resistance, and then that we all react differently. So in front of you, you will see a bus. In that bus, there's some persons. They have a letter in their head. You will see in your booklet that they are real persons in the game. Now, all of these persons have a different MBTI profile. Okay? So they will react differently to the actions that you will do in the game. Some like a lot of focus and a heavy involvement, and others like to be told what's right and wrong. Like us, we are different. Reality is even more difficult, because in reality, I also, of course, have a personality type, a profile. But that might change. I might be one set of that personality profile when I'm here, and I might use a different one when I'm with my wife. Or if I'm angry, or if I'm in a divorce, or whatever happens, or in a change. So it has like a scope of personality profiles. And that is included in the game as well. Yes, I will get one too. Okay, the game is based on a fictitious case. It's the large IT company called TLA, and it buys up a smaller company. TLA is like a competitive, not service-oriented, but sales-oriented company. And Nordicon, on the other hand, that is being bought up, is a conservative company. They like high service, and they have the same client year after year after year. Okay? So you can already guess now. Of course, there will be some conflicts between these two cultures. And let me just stress that we use this game not only to merger. The merger is just a case that we use. We use it to all kinds of changes. Because the learning in this is not about the game. The learning is about getting the participants to talk about their own changes in their own organization. That is where the value is. Games are just fun. It's just a base to get out the value, to talk about what's really important to us. So we react differently. Some of us also see the possibility in the new. Hey, if we're going to skip the old IT system, I can maybe be the king of the new one. So it's not all bad. But some of us focus on what we lose. Of course, there's always like, will I be fired? Like that's the ground thing. But it could also be what would happen to my colleagues. I'm no longer sitting next to you. I always like that we have these small chats, and now you'll be located in a different office. I don't like that. So it can be like on a personal level. It has nothing to do with that change. And then there's limits to how many changes we can go through. You know, so there's a change at work, and on top of that, I'm getting a divorce. It's just too much. I can't cope with that, so I react. And the manager is like, hey, it's not that a big a change, but to me it is. And as a manager, you have to understand that. You only take part of people's lives. They also have a different part, but they are whole people, even though you only see them at work. And then, of course, we have a tendency of going back to old habits. Like I mentioned yesterday, this is how our brain works. We just do what is the easy way, what we know, because it's the fastest way to come to goals and get results. Rick Mauer has 3 levels of resistance. I'm just going to go briefly through them because they are also incorporated in the game. There's a big board up here for those of you who can't see it. And on that board, there's 3 different steps. The first step is the level of information. Now, these are the persons that will have loads of questions. So they will say, so we're not sitting next to each other, or will this mean that I'm not supposed to work with this IT system that I now work with, or should I deal with our clients in a different way? Or they have loads of questions. Now, normally as managers, we can cope with that. So of course, we can have the answer, but sometimes we don't. And then we can just say, hey, I understand your question. Let me just write it down. I'll get back to you as soon as I have an answer. And normally that's okay with people. Then there's the second layer, resistance level 2. Now this is an emotional level. I understand it. I just don't like it. I have a better idea. We shouldn't do what you say. We should use my idea. And here it becomes problematic. So many managers, they get confused between these two, level 1 and level 2. So when they meet my resistance in level 2, What they do is they believe that I don't understand. So they will just show me that PowerPoint one more time. They'll just explain how great this is one more time. You know what will happen? You don't listen to me. I understand it. I just think it's a bad idea. You don't have to tell me one more time. I'm not stupid. Worst case scenario is that you'll be pushed down to the resistance level 3, which is a resistance level about trust. Now, you don't listen to me. Apparently, you don't trust me. So why should I trust you? It could also be more tricky than that. Maybe in my old job, my manager came and he said, we're going to implement lean in our organization. It's not about laying off people. It's just about efficiency. And I said, okay, let's do that. You know what? I got fired. So in my new company, when my manager is coming and telling me, hey, we're going to implement lean, it's not about anyone getting fired. It's just about efficiency. I know what you're doing. You're cheating me. You will fire me in the end. So no matter what you tell me, no matter how great this is, I will not like it. In real life, not today, because today we believe leadership works, so it's possible to get everybody on board that bus. But in real life out there, sometimes you have to let people go. Sometimes you can't find each other. Sometimes the trust is broken and cannot be rebuilt. But in this game, I will show you some tools on how you can rebuild the trust. It is possible. Not always, but a lot more than you think. Good. Oh, there's 4 departments. Actually, we have 4 departments here. So you all have a bus with different color, red, yellow, green, purple. And the way that you will work is that you will work as a collective. So you will be running the sales department. This group will be one manager that will run the team of the sales department, which is 10 people, or 100% of a team. And the way that you will have different actions, you will all have different visions. You all have different companies you come from, different experience on how to work with change. So you probably won't agree. Maybe you'll say, oh, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. Actually, this is the same schizophrenic process we go through as managers. I also in my head have different voices saying, hey, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. But at one point I have to make a decision. Yours is the same. Different voices, but in the end you have to agree. This is what we're going to do. This is the best that we can do in this situation. The challenge is to get your bus through the change the fastest possible and with all the people on board. That's the success criteria. So, and today we will just play the startup phase. You have actions that you can do in 2 different ways. One way is that you can move, I'll just use this, you can move the entire bus. Now we call that gear, you know, like changing gear in a car or in a bus. So if you have a high gear, that means that you have a lot of emphasis, focus on the change. If you have a slow gear, you're saying, hey, we need to focus on our current clients as well. We can't just run away with this change. We have to take it slow. So you can choose gear 1, 2, 3, 4. I will come back to that as well. Okay? That's one way of dealing with it. Unfortunately, some of your people in the bus might leave and go to these resistance levels. But luckily, we also got another thing. We got leadership. You'll be given 12 different leadership actions. And you can choose 4. I'll come back to that, but you can choose 4 of them. All of the 12 leadership actions are good. We don't cheat you here. We don't try to learn you something that is bad. We only teach you good leadership behavior. But it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's good to do this, and sometimes it's not to do this. It's going to be easy. Walk in the park for you. Good. These are the elements in the game. So we have the board, it's down here. We have the employees, that's in your bus. We have these, which is gear cards, which I will give to you. Then we have the levels of resistance, they are mentioned on the board. We have the leadership actions. You get 12 leadership actions for each phase, meaning that you will get 12 leadership actions for the startup phase. And then we have the department, that is the bus. And like I said, the case in the game is TLA, major IT service company, that buys up Nordicon, a smaller, more traditional, conservative company, and you have to make that work. And you come from the outside. You don't have any preferences for either of these two companies. Your job is just to make it work, not to make one of them win over the other or something like that. Okay? You all got a booklet. And I'm sorry for this, but this is a game, so there's a bit of reading here in the beginning. The first page, you don't have to read that, it's just blah, blah, blah. But from that, you have to read from page 2 to page 8. Okay? From 2 to 8. Please do that now.
You said page 2? I'm sorry.
From page 2 to page 8. Yes. You can. And you can write notes in your booklets. They're yours to keep. So if you need to write notes, feel free to do that in the booklet as well.
itself? So
Yes.
it's the one.
If you're finished, you can just do your own notes in the booklet just around what do you normally do when you start up a change process. What's important in your company when you do that? How would you go about this?
The goal is with how many employees we do the change, or the goal is how we make them take this change? The goal is how we make it implement? Like we as managers should decide who do we take with us?
Oh, you take all of them.
We need to take all of them.
You need to take all of them. Yeah, I know. People are really irritating. Yeah, I know. The success criteria of the game is two. The first one is that we want this change to happen. So meaning in a second you'll be reading about gears, meaning how fast, how much focus should we put on this change. We want it to happen. But you also need people to do the work. And the ideal setup is that you get 100%, meaning all your employees, on the bus. So you don't kick off anyone. And of course, the funny thing is that we use this as, if we had more time, we'd use it as personal reflection, saying, okay, so how many do you want to kick off I, the person starting with I, or J, or A, or who it is. And then we'll start talking about, so how many persons do you have in your own company with that personality profile? Because apparently there's not a match there between what you believe is the right leadership and this person's competence. So we start making bridges between the game and the way that you already operate. You just get a few minutes to just finalize it, so you read it all. Please read up to page 9. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I just need everyone to have read it. But you can start discussing your persons. If this table is ready, you can start discussing who are our team, actually. No? You are the combined leader. Yes. You act like one. You are a group. There's a group decisions that you make. I will provide more explanation. I have an army background, so I give explanations like one step at a time. So don't get old. There's a lot of information in this game. I will come back.
Մեր մոտ երկու հարց կա։ Առաջինը փոփոխության արագության որոշումը, ըստ դրա հասկանալ ինչ բանի ենք իրանցից պահպանողական ինչ լեվելի հոտ ենք իրանց առնչվելու ու ոնց գործունենալ այդ աշխատողների հետ, ոնց են վերել են մակարդակի, որ մեր ուզած արագությամբ, մեր ուզած փոփոխությունները այդ արդեն դրա դետալներն
Okay, so you now have a general understanding of the case. That is these two companies that merge, that you are the responsible manager for a team in this company, that you have people from both sides, meaning from both of the old companies, and that your job is to lead your people through the first phase, meaning the startup phase. Now remember, you don't have to lead them through the entire change process. It's just the startup phase. Okay? So there's a difference there. Good. Like I said, there's two ways that we can act in this game. One way is to move the entire bus, meaning the gear card. If you move to your next page, meaning page 10, 11, or 11, 12? 10, 11. If you move to page 10, 11, you will see 3 different gears. Please read these, and then, because now you have to listen up, and then look at the situation. I have taken your buses while you've been reading, placed them on the board, and I have removed some people from your bus. The reason for that is that while you were reading, the CEO of the company, he sent out a video to all the employees. In this video, he's saying, this merger is going to be great. It's going to provide like efficiency, it's going to provide economic growth for both companies, it's going to be great for our clients. There might be some overlaps of competences. There might be stuff like that, but that's not to be looked upon. Let's just look at the positive things, it's going to be great. And now your job starts. The problem is that 2 of your employees, the person starting with A, has removed himself to resistance level 1. Questions. Why is this happening? I don't understand. Is this really a needed change? I thought everything was going so great. Why do we need to merge in the first place? Our clients love the way we work now. I don't see any need for this. So he has questions for you. The second person that have left is the person starting with a J, like Jacob. He have moved to resistance level 2. So he understands. He just thinks it's a bad idea. What will happen to my co-workers? Will they be fired? I remember the CEO mentioned something about overlapping competences. Normally overlapping competences means that someone will be fired. So he don't like this change at all. So even before you have done anything, you're already behind. Isn't that bad? But that's life. Someone comes from the outside, do stuff, and then you have to clean it up. Welcome to management. Good. So this is your starting point. You're in the same space on the game, on the board, but you have person starting with A in level 1, person starting with J in resistance level 2. The first one we got to look at is page 10 and 11, the gears. Read them, and then from the situation and the startup phase, decide on which gear do you believe is the best one to pick. You can only pick one.
Նրա մասին օրինակ առաջարկության
Have you started reading about the on music? Have you read it?
Պետք է հարանել երկրորդի
Երկրորդի ժամանակ ինքը պահել վրա է
information.
Մենք այս պահին առաջի երկրորդի
Ես sense եմ առաջացնում,
Դու կարող օրինակ ասել դուք համոզում եք ինձ, որ ձեր տարբերակն է, բայց նկատեմ, որ բոլորիս արդեն դե
Information L1 minus L2 Ha, ես ագրեցի Ադամ մեկ
չի հասել
Okay, 2 minutes, and then we are ready with your gear choice. You have to agree.
Հիմա այդ հարցին ենք պատասխանում։ Ինքը երկրորդ լեվելում
Yes, guys. Yeah, we have 1 minute left, so it's short time. Good. I hope that you have all decided. On your tables, I have placed something like this. Please take that, and all of you bring that with you up here to the board. So now you have to leave your chairs. No, don't do anything. Just bring it up here with yourself. Everyone, come up here. The whole group, we're all going to stand up here. This is not like a game where we can just sit down, relax all day. This is like an active game. We have to do stuff.
Good. Let's do stuff.
Everyone, please come up here. Good. And remember, this is just a game. So sometimes, because it's just a game, we're allowed to do bold moves. We're allowed to test ourselves, which is, of course, difficult in reality. Because in reality, it's real people, it's real system, it's real money that we're losing. But here, we can test what would happen if I tried something that we never do. Sometimes you also learn from that, and not only to do the right thing, so to say. Okay, let's first of all hear from the groups. Your team, what have you chosen? Which gear do you believe is the correct one, the best one now?
Our team was the purple one. We battled along 2 gears, gear 2 and gear 3.
Yeah.
1 and 4 we took it out because one was too slow, one was too forceful, so we took it out. And if we were okay with losing any of the employees, we would definitely go with gear 3 actually.
Yes.
Because then for sure our J
Yeah.
would probably be very upset and would leave. But he's not our key employee, so we could live without him.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sounds bad, but that's the reality.
Okay.
If our goal is to keep all our employees,
Yes.
and we still want JB happy, and we have A who just doesn't understand the idea, so emotionally Amir is okay, so we are good with him. it's a matter of explaining it, putting it different way. So we would put it different way, and Amir would come to the bus. Hopefully, we can do that. So it leaves us with only Jack, who is not right.
Yeah, he's a problem.
So we will take gear 2.
Gear 2?
Yeah.
Good. What about your group? What did you end up with? Who got a gear card? You got a gear card. Sales team. What did you end up with?
So we are the group with red passengers. We discussed we wanted to decide between the gear. I'm sorry. So we wanted to decide whether we choose gear 2 or 3. Mostly the same thing as in the group next to us. So we didn't come to a final decision, unfortunately. Okay, the rest of the group is for Gear 3. I think we will lose employees with that one, but if the group decides Gear 3, I join the group. If we make a mistake, we will make it together.
That's good. And remember, this is just the first part of the game. There's also leadership actions. So any wrong you do now, you will have a possibility to fix them. Okay? Good. Next group, who got a card? You got a card here? Yeah. Could you just explain briefly why?
Yellow, let's say. I don't need this, I think.
No, but it's for the camera guy.
It's for the camera, okay, good. We decided to go to Gear 3 for the reason that the profiles of the people that we have in our buses are combined in a such way that 3 of them are optimistic, are energetic, and then we need to use them in order to drive this change. But also we have other 6 people with different profiles, and there are some calculated people, which usually they are difficult in the change. They try to know every detail before they jump in the bus. We took for granted that 2 people already left because they heard the message from the CEO that it will be fun. They don't like fun, they like procedures, orders. If there are no orders, they don't want to jump. So June, the June guy, the Chinese guy, he left already. And then also Asman, they said that this is not a journey for us. So already we have 8 people in our bus. 3 of them are the good ones that we will use to drive the change. The others will follow. So we can't start with Gear 4. We can't start with Gear 2 because we have some good people for this change. So definitely we will go to 3.
And the final group, what did you decide on? Not really.
No, I don't want to use my, I don't want to pressure the group. Actually, I have another opinion, but I will...
No, the second one is okay.
No, it's the majority, please. Majority is telling something, and I cannot, make a pressure.
No, I'm already...
Okay,
No.
but which gear did the group select?
No, we also discussing the second one or the...
On the third one, yeah?
We're okay with second one.
Yeah.
Discussing in the final...
Yeah.
Complicated, but...
Okay, but then let's go with Gear 2. Like I said, this is just a game.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is that you will have the possibility to open up the actions that you didn't choose. Okay? So you can actually learn from a gear that you don't choose. You can learn from Gear 4 even though you choose differently. Good.
So let me explain why Gear 2.
Yep.
Okay, Gear 2. Actually, the company lost its main, the Nordicon main client was bankrupt. Means they have less work to do. They can focus on changes from one side. First of all, I was thinking to choose 3 because of that. But those people are quite conservative and too many changes are happening. Methods, team structures, while they understand and absorb that. And I agree with that. If we want to keep all the people, we have to take this into account while people absorb and understand, and they like feel and go through that situation, at least emotionally. And the company is not standing towards the bankruptcy. You know, TLA is wealthy, is good, is dynamic, is great. So no need to rush in this case. So I think GR2 is quite good in terms of keeping people and putting things. And moreover, people are moving to another office. So it's already a good precondition that they will feel and move forward.
Okay, the pieces. And then from that, you can do it on your own, because it's easy. Okay? Let's start with your group. And then this works like a Christmas calendar. So basically, you look at the one, and then you can rip off the front page of that. Ta-da-da-da! And there is the consequence of your action. Okay? So please read out this one, and I will move the pieces. The rest of you will please look. Wait, we'll open your others. You will have time for that. I know it's exciting to rip off paper. Yeah, read this.
Ah, okay.
You read in this one.
So that the shame knows by everyone. Okay.
This is how we move pieces, otherwise you'll be wrong.
Okay.
You should pay attention, otherwise you don't know how to move
So,
in a second.
Amir, Christian, Daniela, Edward, Graham, Hanako, all are fine. Okay, we thought Amir will be fine. So they will stay where they are. Brigitte doesn't like the way the new TLA is coming along. It lacks a focused effort to adapt and adjust the new methods, systems, and teams. Brigitte moves to resistance 2, unless she is at resistance 3. That's not good. Brigitte was good. Frances is eager to do pilot projects and doesn't understand why the old tasks have to take up most of the day. Frances moves to resistance 1. Unless he is at resistance 2 or 3. Guy, he should already understand where he is. Okay. Your leadership style annoys Ilya. She finds it completely idiotic that you don't use more of the employees' ideas for the work on the tests. She has loads of ideas herself. Ilya moves to resistance 3. Jack finds it all a bit chaotic. It doesn't seem like management is doing a very good job on the test process. Jack moves to resistance 2, unless he's at resistance 3. He stays.
And then, so, you got 50% now, okay? But remember, we still got this leadership thing that we also need to do. So hopefully we can get some back on the bus. Okay. Good? Now, the rest of the groups, open up the one that you picked and just do exactly as it says on the card. When it says, unless he's in resistance level, blah, 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 then you just do what it is. For instance, J is already in resistance, level 2, so you can't remove him from that. He don't become better, he just becomes where he are. Okay? Do that, I'm right here if anything goes wrong. Please try to execute your gear card. This group can go back and wonder, is this the best choice? Should we have done something else? What do we normally do? You can never change what you already done. Yeah, I know. But it's like real life. Once you've done something, yeah, we are playing and learning. But in the game, yeah, you can go back and open them up, but in the game it's done. That's like real life. So you can go back to your tables. The rest of you, execute your cards.
Jacob, one question. Like, this is sales team. Who we are?
Yeah.
It was written on your board.
IT department? Operations.
Operations. Barbara doesn't understand why you
You can start, you have your card. You can start taking, does anyone? You can start doing this. You can start taking your people as well. Do it at the same time. Start.
Alanı stay where they are.
Hazır, step. But I don't know, she wasn't with us.
You're free. No running. Good.
Where do we go?
You took year 2, right?
Yes.
So you are here, year 2. Okay. You can also return to just yellow team.
Which one we have? Bianca moves to resistance 1. And what it means, it moves to resistance 1 unless she is at resistance 3.
Yeah, but she's not. She's just in resistance 1.
Moves to resistance 1. Okay. Unless?
No, but she's not. It's because we can start the game in different ways.
Okay, so okay,
She's just on
resistance 1. Karen moves to resistance 2. Alright, where's Karen? Denise moves to resistance 2. And Helen moves to resistance 2. So we have 4 people.
So you took Asman is staying. In June as well. No, but June was off the bus already. And in the beginning I said, hey, yes. So they don't go on the bus, they just stay where they are. Good? So we have all but this is good. No, but this is
Because you move June and Asma.
I moved June and Asman in the beginning. So they will stay where they are, which is meaning this is now you can do the issue. Okay. I know it's tough, and as you can already feel, the competitive edge is already crawling up inside you. Now this is the great thing about games, but this is also the terrible thing about games. Because the terrible thing is that you can get so caught up in the excitement of winning that you forget it's all about the learning. So of course, like I said, if we have an entire day, then we can spend more time on the reflections and how to draw up knowledge from the game. Today, we don't have that much time. So we have to go fast forward, basically. Okay, so if we turn to the next page, is it 13 and 14? You will find 12 actions on 13 and 14. Oops. 12 and 13. 12 and 13, you will find 12 actions. Now, look at your situation, look at who is in resistance, and pick 4 actions in a sequence. That means, like in real life, first I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, then this, and finally I'm going to do that. So 4 out of the 12 actions in a sequence, and again, you have to agree on them. Any questions for this? Good.
Մոտիվացված իրենց գործի բացահայտման առաջին 4-ի համար կընտրենք այս action-ից մեկը ամեն մեկի համար, ում համար
Հիմա Բարբարայից սկսենք։ Այո։
պետք է վերլուծենք նախ ինչն է իրանց ասում է ինքը չի հասկանում ինչի համար պրոյեկտները միաժամանակ մի բանի վրա կենտրոնանալ մի ժամանակ շփոթվածում, որպեսզի the future systematic ձևով
We will work this out together. Որի մենակ չի։
չէ, մենք այս ովքեր որ
Երեխեք 12 երեխը։
դուրս են մնում, իրենց
That is why it's necessary.
եկեք մի հատ բոլորը կարդանք նորեր։ Չէ, չէ։
Պիտի իրան ասենք, որ միասին ենք։
Եկեք կարդանք նոր հասկանանք ինչ տարբերակներ ունենք։
And since we are in a bit of a rush due to lunch, we only have 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, we need to have 4 actions in a sequence.
Maybe first
Ունենք ոչ էներգետիկ վերսիաներ,
չորրորդի մեջ ասում է, որ ես
Ասենք առաջինը ինչ ու ընտրենք։
առաջին երկրորդը իրար հակասության են,
Մի դուք
Բարբարան ուզում է, որ
առանձին չի կարելի։
Բարբարան մեկի
միաժամանակ
systematic fashion, իրան սիստեմայապետ, structure-ապետ։
Տեսեք, the future is bright.
Այս նշել եմ։
Barbara.
Ասեք, ոսը բրավար
իրան պես կասել, եթե դու չես this is how you do it։ Կամ երկրորդ արի ես քեզ ցույց տամ, ես քեզ կոնկրետ գայդլայն տամ, եթե դու չես կողմնորոշվում, ես քեզ ցույց տամ ոնց անես։
4 ընտրենք բոլորի համար, մի բան ասեմ։
Ամեն մեկի համար մի հատ լուծում ունեցան, որ 4։
Չէ, ինքը ասում է մի բանով սկսում ես, բացատրում ես եւ այլն, հետո վերջում փակում։ Փակելը the future looks bright։
Okay,
համաձայնվում դու իրան the future-ը ցույց ես տալիս։ մարդիկան, որոնք կարիք ունեն work together-ի, we will work this together. Եթե կարդաք,
You can use these to select the 12 that you have picked, but please don't open them up yet.
I enter into a dialogue with those employees I believe feel the most overlooked. I inquire into each individual's experience of the startup days and listen carefully. I make it clear that I take their opinions seriously, that I appreciate their work effort, and that I want them to be involved in the change process.
Երբ որ այդ emotional level-ի վրա անում ես, բայց ինքը մեկա ճնշված է, ինքը մեկա այդ դրա ֆիլտրով ու պրիզմայով անցկացնում, սա կապերին, որ ես գնամ նորից իմ դեղը նստեմ։ Հա, բայց
Դրանով կարևորում ես change-ը դերը։ Նայ, դու ասում ես ես քեզ կարևորեցի, մենք իրար հետ կանենք, մի հատ էլ բան, ու հետո write. Just tell me what you think. We will work this out together. This is how you do it. Ասենք, որովհետև բացատրում ես նաև ոնց պետք է դանի։ The future looks great. То есть write.
այստեղ լիքը տարբերակներ կա, որտեղ իրենց հետ խոսում ա ու լսում ա իրենց։ Դրա համար սա չեմ կարծում, որ լավագույնն է։
Դենտրեք բանալը։ Հետև let's talk about it, շատ ժամանակ ա պետք հաշվի արեք, որ դուք ջիր երեկում եք,
Երեխեք հետո focus on the goals and visions, պիտի միշտ
այստեղ արագ եք
How do we track our
Know your coworkers. Կարապորտի ֆորմալ մտնոլորտը
Որ իրար ճանաչեն։
Okay. We will need the cards. You got 4 actions? How many do you got? No, I know. I understand. I understand. And normally this would be translated, and we'll have much more time. So this is just so you can have a feeling of how it works. No. Learn from the results instead of that. Good. Let's take the 4 actions and meet up here. Please all join me. Take your cards, the 4 actions that you have chosen, and then come up here. Everybody, we're going to come up here. Everyone comes up here. Good. So we will do as we did before. So we've chosen 4 actions in a sequence, almost all of us. And the idea here is that we make a plan instead of just doing leadership. We try to plan it. And of course, in reality, if we make a plan and it doesn't work, then of course you need to look at your plan and make a new one and replan. Normally in the game we also do that. Today we don't have the time for that because there's lunch. But normally you will also have the possibility to make a plan and then replan. Because of course you also become smarter every time you make an action, just like we do in real life. Okay? Good. Let's start with your group. Do you have your 4 actions? Yeah. Good. Could you just mention the number and the title of the action that you have chosen?
Yes. Number 1, the future looks. Yes. Number 1, the future looks bright. Number 8, make it clear. Number 9, focus on the goals and visions. Number 12, how do we structure our work days?
Okay. So now you open up the first one. And exactly like the same as before. Underneath is the consequence of your actions. And now please read it out loud.
Move C and H to resistance 2, unless they are in resistance 3. Move C and H to resistance 2, unless they are in resistance 3. They are not in resistance 3, so move it.
Okay, I'll just read out loud, because of course you need to understand why you do the move. Your graphs, and this is the future looks bright, so this is very positive angle. Your graphs and figures fail to make any of the employees that are resistant to the change more positive. C and H see your overly optimistic view of the future as a sign that you are out of touch with reality. Try to focus on listening and concentrate on dealing with the grief that employees feel over losing something that they actually care about. Move C and H to resistance level 2 unless they are already there, which they are, okay? So this card didn't work because it's saying that they are actually sad. And you're just coming to them telling, don't be sad, this is going to be great. But they are still sad. So in the game, not necessarily in your own organization, but in this game, the idea is that if people are sad, you need to acknowledge that. You need to accept that they are sad, and then you can move them out. Okay? That's the learning. I'm not saying it will be the same every time in your organization, just in this game. Okay? Let's take the next one. You have other actions for that. Great.
Make it clear.
Yeah.
Move E and I to resistance 2.
Good. E and I will just read it out loud. Many of the employees need clear guidance these days, but that they find that your attitude arrogant and commanding. They also have opinions on how to approach the situation. Especially E and I feel that you are underestimating their ability to contribute positive to the work ahead. Move E and I to resistance level 2. So the idea is that in this one you do not involve the employees. You just tell them, this is what you're supposed to do. Now this is a commanding leadership style. You also see it in the army, shoot. So it's not up for discussion. But the reason why it functions in the army is that before you tell people that, you have involved them, you have created trust. So you need to create trust first before you make it clear. Okay? In the game, at least. Let's take the next one. Which one is that?
Number 9, focus on the goals and vision.
9, focus on goals and vision.
Move 3 employees will go empty to the end. Move 3 employees who are on a road at the resistance 1 or 2 squares close to the bus.
Yeah, no. You will not leave an empty bus. Now you're getting somewhere. This is vision and goals, and you're in the beginning of a startup phase. So in this game, people love vision and goals. They like to have a leader that comes out and says, this is the way we're going to go. This is why we do it. People like that. So the employees enjoy having a clear set of goals and visions presented to them. Those who felt insecure in their own roles are pleasant with the opportunity to let out their frustrations. They are now able to see opportunities which might eventually be to their advantage. Move 3 employees who are on the road or resistance 1 or 2 squares closer to the bus. So now you're moving in the right direction. So you can pick any 2 of these, or this one, and move them closer to the bus.
What do you mean close to the bus?
Okay, so let's take D and C. 1, 2. So now they're closer to the bus. No, because you can only pick 2.
No, 3.
Oh, sorry, 3. Oh, sorry, 3. No, close.
You are playing
3. This is closer to the bus. So the road represent that people, for instance, in the company Spotify I work a lot with, they're hiring in new people all the time. Like these new people, they're not in resistance, but they're not on the bus either. They're on the road. They're still trying to catch up. The same thing goes if you have had people in resistance. They're not in resistance anymore, but you know, they haven't listened to anything you said the last month because they were so like mad at you. So they need to catch up. They need a bit of time to be able to get on the bus. And this is what the road represents. Good? Last card.
How do we structure our work days? Move A, D, or J. We have only A to resistance 1.
Okay, let me just explain it. The more cautious employees hardly get a word in. This is how do we structure your work days? You create a workshop. The more cautious employees hardly get a word in as E and I run the show. Several employees are confused by all the loose talk about structure and guidelines. As the team does not know the precise work areas at the new department yet, the discussion ends up being more about the personal experience rather than the concrete planning. No one is clear on what the meeting was supposed to be achieved. The reason why this card doesn't work is not that it's a bad action. It's just a bad action in the beginning of a process. I don't know what are we supposed to do? Why are we doing it? What's my job? If you play an action like this in the implementation phase, then people like it. Yeah, because I understand why we're here, I understand what we're supposed to do, I understand the timeline, and I know my role in it. So if you ask me how should we structure this, I would say, yeah, I understand from my perspective we should structure it that way. So this is an excellent action, but in this game it's too early. It should have been played in the implementation phase. Okay? The rest of you, try to execute your actions and see how it goes.
In Cengano? Oh, okay. So we are not telling.
No.
We have 2 employees.
Resistance 1, to know their needs.
3 minutes.
Squares closer to the bus.
If C is in the bus and he moves 1 square closer to the bus,
E and I make them unless they are at distance 3.
Move closer to the bus or where to okay, move out.
Do we need to
unless
to make the steps like one
no.
we decided to make it
The action step.
clear the action step. So, mechanizing
But if we don't understand the instruction, just
Move the bus 1 square forward. Which bus are you?
this one.
Move the employees on the road 1 step closer to the bus. Move Jay to resistance level 3. So he will be down here. Good? You ready? Okay, thank you so much for playing. We've been way over time, so they're rushing us to go to lunch. I hope you have an expression that this can give you an idea of some of the actions that you can do when you work for change. All of them are based on Daniel Goldman, these actions, so they will be different leadership styles for different persons, which is basically the... Go have lunch. Thank you for this day.